did this once a few months ago, and he spent most of his life just meditating. I mean, that's an option. It's not something I choose to do, but it's an option. I mean, we can do that. And what it did was help him see the difference between mind and consciousness. And he said, mind is consciousness which has put on limitations. You are originally unlimited and perfect. Later you take on limitations and become the mind. Perfect. That's what we do. So we can start to see, and I'll get more into this in the last section, we can start to see how we can turn this bloody key and open this door, which you can't do unless you get into these deep levels of understanding the nature of reality. And Einstein said, a human being is a part of the whole called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feeling as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. And that's exactly what it is, an optical delusion. So it's not just freeing our mind, it's freeing ourself from mind, or freeing ourself from the domination of mind on our sense of perception. And, you know, all the way through what we call history, these basic truths have been repeated. It's nothing new, it's just we're getting more to understand them in the mainstream. We have these vortex systems called chakras, wheels of light, the word means, which connect us into the energy level of us from the body computer. And the key connection is through what we call the heart chakra here. So people talk about love and they symbolize the physical heart. Actually, that comes from originally from this heart vortex, the understanding that this is the seat of connection to consciousness. There are other connections as well, like the right side of the brain, which I'll get to shortly. But the heart is a key connection. And it's the difference between the head and the heart is the difference between thought, particularly left brain thought, which is what most people are stuck in, and intuitive, the word again, knowing. How many times do we just know that we've got to go somewhere, that we know we ought to do this, that we know we really ought to do that? And this is going, you can't do that, you've got a mortgage, you've got a cat, what will your mother think, what will the people on the bar think? And it's talking this out, oh yeah, okay. And the thing that changed my life 20 years ago, dramatically, is when I made one decision. Every time my head and my intuitive knowing are at odds, I'm going with this, every time. And what happens, and it happened with me, when you follow this, you can get in some interesting situations in this world of head when you're coming from another point of perception. And this is going, see, told you what happened if you didn't listen to me, there you go. But if you keep with it, eventually your life becomes this synchronistic journey which takes you to places that you want to go, and after a while, this observes and it goes, hold on a second, you might get into some scrapes when you follow this, but it all works out in the end. And it all works out not because or despite the scrapes you got into, but because of them. And at that point, the head and the heart come into alignment, and you think and feel the same thing. The war ends that most people are in. The heart has its own energy field. There's far more to the heart, even the physical heart, than ever people have understood, even genetically. And when I'm talking about love, I'm not talking about I love you, saw you down the disco, darling, not that. I'm talking about a level of love that you really have to experience because there's no words to describe it. And when I was in that ayahuasca state, the opening line of this female voice was, the only thing you really need to know is infinite love is the only truth, everything else is illusion. In other words, the existence of one infinite consciousness, that's the only truth. Everything else is illusion. It's the manifestation and manifestations of that consciousness in many and various ways, but the manifestations are the illusion. The consciousness is the base reality of everything. And one of the lines from one of my books, love is not something you're in, it is something you are. That's the difference. It's interesting, you know, I've talked to people who work in mind control and stuff, or used to, and they tell me that if you stimulate a certain part of the brain, You can get anyone to fall in love with anyone as long as they stimulate their part of the brain as well. You'll get this attraction. It's electrochemical attraction. We call it love. It's actually attraction. Love is something beyond what we perceive to be love in this world. And when we close the heart, and fear and stress and all that stuff close the heart chakra very, very powerfully, that's when we end up. And also fear of being different means fear of following the heart intuition because of what people will say about you because you're acting in ways that are different. And that's that puts us in these eggshells. And when we open the heart, we're dealing with a level of love, call it cosmic love, unconditional love. There are many descriptions for it, but it's love that you have to feel to understand what it is, and I'm sure many people in this room have, although it's fleeting within the world sometimes that we experience. And when we open up, then we connect with all that is, and then we start to access levels of intuitive awareness that start to make the complex world of things and apartness become, whoa, that's how it goes together then. And without that, we're just lost in confusion, lost in the world of mind, which sees everything in apartness. I was in the bath last year, because I have one occasionally, and I'm sitting there with me duck or whatever, and don't know what I was doing, and I got this real clear picture in my mind from nowhere. First of all, there was this billowing energy, which I took to be consciousness. Why, I don't know, but that's what came. And then an eye appeared in this energy. And then in front of the eye came a telescope. And at the end of the telescope was this world, this earth and this universe and all the rest of it. And then the telescope morphed into a human body. And I got Neil Haig to paint it for me. And that's so symbolic of what we experience in this reality. We are experiencing a certain kind of experience with this reality gives to us. And there's nothing wrong with the experience. It's fine. I mean, it's an experience. But what the body does is it telescopes us into a certain range of frequencies and therefore perception. And through the body, we see the world in a very different way. Now, we can use the telescope, the body, knowing that it's a telescope, in which case we've got consciousness and we've got the telescopic, if you like, apartness experience. But when consciousness is no longer connected, we're just left with a telescopic view of everything. And that's why we see things in such narrow terms all the time when we cease to be consciousness. And the energy field, or the energy of we are, connects into the body through things like the endocrine system and the pineal gland, which people connect to the third eye of psychic sight and all the rest of it. And that's how we connect into the computer. We have an auric field, and the lower auric field in the body, that's what I call body awareness, because the body is not just what we call a physical body, it's also an energy field. And together, that's what I will refer to as the mind. And it's interesting, when you put an electrical charge through a wire, it throws out a magnetic field, an electromagnetic field. And of course, this is now well known, down the central nervous system through what we call the crown chakra, right down through and out the base chakra, there is energy, electrical energy going through all the time, and it throws out this electromagnetic field. That together, I would suggest, is what we call mind. And it's the same with the earth. For reasons I'll get to in this section, everything is a mirror of everything else. Same thing happens with the earth. You have that electromagnetic charge, which becomes the energy field of the earth. Now, when we open this auric field and connect to the wider levels of consciousness, then we have everything we need. But the way the world is manipulated, coldly and calculatedly, is designed to close that auric field so that we operate only in that level of awareness that I call the mind. And that's how the few control the many. And when we operate within the mind, we basically go round and round and round in what we call life, following the programs of the mind.